I'd say that right now in crypto, we are facing the calm before the storm. And to describe that a little bit better, I wouldn't say that this is really the calmest of times, as Bitcoin saw a new all-time high today and we are doing pretty good. But I'd say that if we look at the general movement of the market over a prolonged period of time, right now what we're seeing in terms of coloring, based on previous cycles, is red. It's where things start going crazy. But we really haven't gone that crazy just quite yet. And I'd like to actually refer you to one of Kobe's tweets from yesterday. If you do not know, he's one of the most legendary crypto traders known on Twitter. He said, another Bitcoin all-time high, right? Because that happened last night. It was pretty cool. But in the not so distant future, we will most likely see one of these every single day for weeks at a time. And I've been stating for a while that you usually have a Bitcoin all-time high first with multiples of it. And then the altcoins basically go crazy. And right now, as it stands, I also believe that Bitcoin is taking some of the dominance back. So people are primarily going for Bitcoin. And that soon is going to change as people want to diversify to get more profits into more and more alts. But it's nice that Ethereum is finally starting to make a move, even though it got rejected at the $4,000 mark 5 times, I believe. It was able to swoop through to 4,100. But right now, as the trades stand, I'd say the Ethereum trade is starting to outperform a lot of the other ones. It's kind of funny. It's because it was the biggest trade, but it was the most underperforming asset. But recently here, it started to pick up, going to above 4,100. Right now, of course, it has to go back to its comfortable 4,000, it seems. But really, we're all making a fuss about moves in a nothing area. I mean, XRP had a little bit of a move just now. Some altcoins had a little bit of a bounce, but the real crazy times, we saw some a few weeks ago. And perhaps here, as Bitcoin sets on, perhaps is able to push through like we were talking about last week, and is able to actually go towards maybe the $120,000 mark, maybe something along those lines right here. That is also where the altcoins can really start breaking records again. And I know some alts are going to a new all-time high every single day, sure. But I'm talking about just continued crazy times for almost every single altcoin, like we saw about a week or two ago, I think 2 weeks ago. And right now, taking a look at the numbers, a lot of people still don't believe it. I mean, a good example is the fact that the Ethereum shorts were at one of the highest points ever just now. It's kind of funny that it was able to break through, but it shows clearly there's a lack of confidence in the overarching alt season right now. Then again, Bitcoin-wise, Michael Saylor just again announced that they just bought another $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin at over $100,000 per coin, I might add. And what it kind of tells me is really, if you just believe, or had believed really, in the longer term plan of Bitcoin, either by following the stock to flow model, or like I often show you guys with the basically the cyclical Bitcoin chart. I've shown this chart 1,000 times before. Realistically, all you got to think about is, I need to cash out somewhere over the next, let's just say 10 or so months. When exactly is that going to be? That's your most important question. But right now, it should mostly be, hey, which of these days are alts going to pop off? Today, yet another day of green in general, but nothing really too fancy, nothing too crazy. Seems to be virtual and hype in the number 1, 2 spots. But anyway, to get back to the story, we have seen some signs of the change, of the storm, which, by the way, storm in this case being quite a positive word. But one of those examples is the recent searches with regards to coins like XRP, and actually a couple of different memes as well. Bitcoin, funny enough, is at one of the lowest points. But interestingly, take a look. So Google's search popularity of XRP worldwide. Historical times, XRP is on its way to becoming a household name like Bitcoin. Well, interestingly enough, recently the searches for XRP have been higher than those of Bitcoin, which I'm not sure if ever happened. But I think for the most part because the gains were just so insane. And if you really start looking at the socials, XRP is kind of really everywhere. And Bitcoin, I'd say, let's say there's a fan of Bitcoin, right? They talk about it a few times a day, whereas with XRP, generally speaking, the people that are interested just act a lot more on it. At least is what I'm thinking. And the same can be said for a lot of these memes, which right now have been getting tons of popularity. By the way, some of them are getting too popular, getting these takedown notices. I saw that with Peanut. But anyway, let me add this to the whole story, man. You understand what we're all waiting for, right? What the big boys, the big boys, but the big parts of the run are going to be. Most likely, it's going to be either BlackRock announcing some crazy altcoin type of ETFs that could really bring a lot of interest just changing the game because all of a sudden it's going to be a crazy spiral of different ETFs. That's one thing I'm crazy excited about. But two, it's one of the countries, Russia, the US, Japan, China, who knows, just saying, hey, you know what? We're really going to put this reserve into place. We're going to start buying like actual madmen. And I really think it's going to be coming this season. I don't really have a price target for it. I've often said I personally see Bitcoin going at least 180,000, but I'm thinking more towards the $300,000 mark this cycle. But it just depends on how quick announcements of this sort are going to come. We all know that many countries are talking about it, but we don't know how many of them are just talk. They can also do the do. But anyway, once this starts going, I think it's just going to be a whole laughing to the bank type of fest, mostly because it's like an arms race of sorts where you don't want to be the first to start preparing for something like that because all of a sudden it gives those bad vibes maybe, right? But the moment one does, which kind of has already happened with Nayib Bukele, the guys over in El Salvador, and perhaps it's just natural for these guys to follow because, well, Trump already launched a crypto project, or at least is involved with one. It makes sense for next steps. It makes sense for him to back up his talk. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get it done and through, but that's the funny thing. You know that it doesn't even matter if they actually go for a reserve. It's mostly just them saying that they would be interested or look into it. The fact that, because I really don't believe these confirming the reserve plan articles too much, they mean too little. You need the person to actually be in office to say, hey, this is what we want to do right now. We're going to get this done. Right now it's just talk. And I am also realistic when I say that. Even if he's going to say it in office, it could just be a little speech. He doesn't have to pull through. But the fact that he could be a president and then say, hey, we really want to get a Bitcoin reserve, that's a big deal. A little side note for all the FTX people, whoever was involved. FTX to use stablecoins for bankruptcy payouts in 2025. FTX has announced January 3rd, 2025 as the effective date and record date for its Chapter 11 reorganization plan. The platform will facilitate bankruptcy payouts using stablecoins through exchanges like Bitcoin and Kraken, aiming to enhance the ease of access for users to their funds. This approach might influence the crypto market by potentially increasing liquidity and activity in altcoins. Well, the long story short here is people that lost their money are going to be getting some back over the next few weeks, which is actually the most bullish thing I could have told you. Now, I kept it kind of low here. I didn't really scream or anything, but generally speaking, this on its own, the fact that so many people are just going to get an influx of stablecoin back, right, for whatever they lost, that is so absurdly bullish. A lot of you guys don't understand just how exciting this is going to be, just how crazy it's going to get here. But so yeah, generally, things are looking quite good, like for the near future, at least, if I had to say. I mean, I wouldn't be against another little correction of sorts, but from this point on forward, anytime we really start breaking here, I do believe it's going to cause a little bit of an extra type of panic. Why am I saying that? Well, because as of this point, if we go back to 100,000 and we break through, well, depending on how far down we go, now it's a break of structure, right? Whereas before, every single time we went to these low levels, I mean, we can actually have a little bit of a wick like this. I mean, if the price goes back down to 95, it comes back up at the same day. Nothing too much going to happen if you ask me. Honest opinion. But I'm just saying, if we actually start going down, get ourselves a daily close below that, you know, by a significant margin, not as before, all of a sudden now, I think people's eyes are going to be locked back in towards like 89, maybe even slightly lower, 85, something like that, because, well, that's basically where the next layer of support is going to be at, because that was basically the start of this move upwards, right? This all, theoretically speaking, happened really, really quickly. I mean, you got to understand, this is all in the span of 1 month that we've gone up from what? Let's just say about $85,000 to $107,000. It's still a move of $25,000 in a little over a month and like 3-4 days. So even though 30% up in a month is not the craziest of numbers, I wouldn't be able to say that. Going up $25,000 per Bitcoin in the span of a month, that is pretty damn ridiculous. But so the moment it decides to come back down a little bit, I do expect this time around to have a little bit of a fall. Why am I saying that? Well, because bull runs usually have corrections and you always got to be prepared for one. But ultimately, we'll just be buying because I kind of believe that we are really starting to get into territory now where things, the moment they start rolling, are going to start going really, really fast. It's been a week and a half or something like that of mostly just sideways for most alts. Actually, matter of fact, many of them have been going down. But Bitcoin right now is setting up a new high point. The first time it did so, yesterday, a lot of alts shattered. Right now, Bitcoin continues this on, sets a few all-time highs, keeps going up with the line. Yes, at the start, Bitcoin, maybe even Ethereum, might take some dominance back. but perhaps this is now the time where things again start to go for a roll number 2. Not full-fledged alt season. Again, it's still a little bit further down the road. But yeah, I've described all that in my cash out type of videos that I make almost all the time. So yeah, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you press that like button. Hopefully you've put the notification bell on so whenever something crazy happens, you are notified. And I hope you're ready for what's about to happen next, because I am.